Welcome to QUEERNECKS, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode.
I was checking email today, and they said, hello, sweet professor. And it was like, what? I've gotten some weird emails. That one just took me off guard a little.
I've never gotten one that weird. I don't think I've ever actually gotten the super, weird salutation. Most of the time, there was no salutation, right? They email you like they're texting a friend. So I guess that's a win.
Yeah, my favorite is when you get an email with no subject, no name, no information about what class you have them in, and a generic question that could be any of the classes that you're teaching. You know, like, when is the final? Like, that's something you could look up on your own, number one. And number two, it's literally in the syllabus. Like,
I got some emails that I don't know what happened for a while there when I was teaching the first time at EKU, something about the UI for our email system, which I'm sure was Outlook, but way back in the day, right? Like early Outlook. Something was going on where they would type the whole message in the subject line because you could type, there were apparently a lot of characters allowed in the subject line, but you couldn't read them all. It would cut off, you know? So, and I was like, it happened multiple times. And finally in class, I was like, can I show y'all something? Like, I took the name and the content out or whatever, but I was like, I'm getting this, and it's not a communication that I can decode. I can't respond to this, even if I wanted to. But mostly it was them texting like, hey, are we having class tomorrow? I would have alerted you.
Yeah, exactly. I have been known to cancel class 10 minutes before it started when something dire happens. But,
yeah,
you know, otherwise, I'm going to let you know well before it's time for class that we're not having class today.
There are very, very few circumstances in which you're going to be the first person I tell something to, but this is it. This is the one.
God love them.
Happy Pride Month.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the tsunami of where is Straight Pride Month and what about the veterans? I'm excited to see all that.
Veterans who have 2 days that I can think of and a whole month. Like, there is a Veterans Month.
they get May and November. Both of those are Veterans Months.
Yeah. There was a town, I think it was in Kentucky. It might have been Bowling Green, where they declared June Nuclear Family Month. Let me look that up real quick, because I feel like that was a homegrown. Oh, it was Tennessee.
That still tracks.
It does, don't it?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm happier about that.
I'm going to Tennessee in August.
What? It better be good. What for?
The Knoxville area. My friends from college from 150 years ago, we were all friends in the dorms. We are getting together for the first time. They all came to my mom's when my mom died. They gathered there for me. But that's the last time we saw everyone. And the time that we saw everybody before that was also at a funeral. So it's time to have a gathering that isn't a funeral.
Right. That ratio does get a little off the older you get.
Yeah, it really does. One of my girlfriends, her wife died. It was during the pandemic, and we all went to Chicago for that. And then my mom died, and everybody showed up for me for that. Like, I've been to Chicago since then, and I've seen my friend Courtney on my own. But it's been since mom died. All four of us were together.
Getting a cabin and.
No, Tina has apparently my friend Tina lives in Knoxville. She has a pretty big apartment. She said she has room for everybody. So we'll see.
Nice. It used to be affordable to live, down there. But yeah, anyway, as if nuclear families can't be queer,
Right.
It just tells you how stupid these folks are and performative.
I have more and more students that are like, well, my two moms, blah, 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 or my lesbian moms, this or that, or my two dads. I have that pretty often. It's not even a rare occurrence anymore. So.
Well, and this is more than anti-queer because it's also, there's whiteness, like there is hegemonic whiteness in this idea of, the nuclear family. It's often, like, that rhetoric is often targeted at Black Americans because of this stereotype that their parents aren't married or something like that, or the fathers always leave or something. And I'm not aware of any statistics that show that is disproportionately higher in Black communities.
That comes from the Moynihan Report. Do you know the Moynihan Report?
I don't.
There's a sociologist who he studied black families supposedly, and he came out with this paper that basically said he basically blamed single mothers for the plight of black America, saying that there were no fathers and blah 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 blah. So that's where a lot of that fuel came from.
Okay. I just brought that up. I'm going to read it later. Because this isn't going to be affirming of straight people, right? It's not straight pride. There's an added layer of normativity to something like nuclear, and it's that obsession they all have with babies. They're freaking out right now that nobody's having babies, that the population is dropping, that we're basically no longer procreating. And it's like, when I see that, my first instinct is, are we okay? Like, do you know how much people want to have babies? People
Yeah.
lose their minds for babies. If they're not having them right now, something's wrong. Then those people aren't able to take care of themselves, and they know that, and so they're not having babies. It also probably means that they're not having relationships, which is true to me, right? Like, they're no longer meeting anybody. It's not that people aren't having kids only, it's that they're also staying single.
We don't have as many social opportunities anymore. People don't go out and do things. We just sit at home and doom scroll.
All of our time is spent in survival mode.
Yeah.
We're working two jobs in this economy. Like, the median income in the US right now is somewhere in the 50s, I think. It's 83,000. Wait. So that's a dual income household. Okay.
That makes more sense.
Individual workers, the median annual earnings are about 51,000. For a family, it's between like 83 and 100. A family. So, I'm about in that range for individual worker. I can barely afford to live because I live alone. It's not entirely one for one, because more people in a household increases certain things, but like, the idea is that both of you working full time, that would come to more than what you both consume together.
Right.
Anyway, not the case anymore.
Yeah, Shanna and I both work full time, and we barely, you know what I mean? We barely cover expensive. Like, she got paid today, and we were down to like $200 in our checking account, which is way better than we've ever had it. So that's something.
Yep.
But on the other hand, that's all we have left over. We've got to save. We've just got to save. I took on an extra class on my online teaching for the rest of the summer in an effort to save up some money.
Poverty is engineered.
Poverty is expensive.
I Googled how to start an OnlyFans the other day.
Go you, is all I can say.
I'm not going to do it. I just had this sudden flight of fancy. I was listening to a podcast probably that mentioned it. No, that is not going to happen.
There's a market, I think, for both of us.
Yeah.
A plus size
Right.
lesbian. Like, there's plenty of fetishists out there that would be down for some of my underwear. And listeners, if that's you, like, let me know.
Right.
Hit a girl
we are-
up.
We're a solid market, not even a niche market, like, that's, I don't know who said it. I wish I could remember, but somebody one time, they were talking about identity, and I think it was a comedian or a sketch or something, and they said, are you a cis straight white man, or are you one of the porn categories? If there is just one piece of you that is a marginalized identity, it's somebody's fetish.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that segues us into the Foxy Merkins. What a time. I watched it last night. You watched it several days ago, right?
Yes. Let me get my notes so that I have them here. Because I take notes now.
Oh yeah, me too. I got pages.
The first thing I want to talk about is how the main character, Margaret, looks like me, like in a lot of ways. So I think that gives me some perspective here, because I pride myself in being the kind of woman that no man wants to fuck, right? I pride myself on that. Like, with my no makeup, with my fat ass, with my clothing choices, with my haircut choices, I am like the anti-woman, and so is she. Yet she is still objectified standing outside of that Talbot's, even by women, which is the ironic part. But the fact that she is being treated as a sex object when she Hanky is everything but in our culture. I found that really interesting.
There are several moments throughout the film where that is complicated in super interesting ways, and I took note of them. Because one of the things about this movie is it was kind of set out to not really be about anything. It's a Seinfeld type of queer dry comedy. There's not even really a plot, the story, right? It's director Madeline Olnick and the two leads, Lisa Haas and Jackie Moynihan, I think. They all co-wrote it together, which is, you can tell, like, oh yeah, this was written by multiple people. It's, all over the place, and that's fine, right? Because the goal was like, it's essentially montage, like it'll be a montage and then some sketch of a thing, and then another montage, and then suddenly we're in the next part of the story. And often they don't even tell us how we got there. Many times I was like, wait, what? Who is this? So they didn't set out to make a good movie, and they didn't set out to make a movie that spoke to any like deeper issues. In fact, the director said she wanted to avoid that, but you can't. I don't care how hard you try to be like, there's no politics. And to be fair, she didn't say that. Like, that wasn't the way she phrased it. Everything you do is political. So, like, there are still moments in here where really real stuff is talked about in the midst of this absolute just basket case of a movie.
Like police brutality out of the middle of nowhere.
Randomly. And Margaret's gender presentation is one of those things. It brings up a couple of points. So we have our two lead characters are Margaret and Jo. Margaret is she's very short. Like, Jo towers over her, and I don't think Jackie Moynihan is like super tall. So she's extremely short. She is just the typical, I think, like 90s butch lesbian, like her outfits. The very first one we see her in is a black t-shirt.
V-neck.
It's a V-neck?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. She's got her black fucking horn rim glasses like you wear. The lesbian special, and carpenter pants. Did you notice her blue jeans were carpenter
Which
jeans?
I have owned many of them. And her jorts. She had jorts on in one scene, too. Yeah, but I've had many a pair of carpenter pants.
Yeah. I have my emotional support carpenter pants. They're 2 sizes too big. And I was literally wearing jorts while watching this movie. So, like, that aesthetic doesn't go anywhere, To me, it didn't. A lot of trans guys keep it, actually. A lot of trans guys are like, I'm not changing my wardrobe. I was already dressing for the job I wanted. I just went ahead and finished the job with like hormones and surgeries.
Yeah. I dress like a trans dude, I guess, because I wear nothing but men's clothing. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be masculine, though. It's just what fits my particular body and my aesthetic. And there's pockets.
It's what you feel
heaven
comfortable
forbid you give a woman a pocket. Yeah. But I stick to the basics. I do a lot of solid colors, a lot of V-neck sweaters, V-neck t-shirts, that kind of thing. Simple pants, a lot of black pants, a lot of khakis. I don't even own a pair of jeans anymore. Because I dress up every day and then I come home and put on my play clothes. It's like coming home from school and putting on your after school clothes. So I've got sweatpants and real clothes and nothing in between.
Yeah, I had that exact same experience about getting like a real big kid job. It's like, what's the rest of my clothes for then?
Yeah.
I guess I can just get rid of them. So yeah, it's Margaret, and we see her first just standing outside of a building, and she creates an image. Like, she signifies something immediately. And her hair too, like, it is a very specific kind of haircut. It's not just short, it's not stylish, right? She's got like this side part thing going on. It's really poofy. She clearly doesn't comb it. Like you said that you've got the same hair, but no, you get like yours cut. You get cuts and you comb it and style it and stuff. Like,
there have been many a day in my life that when I didn't have money for regular haircuts, that I was wearing headbands at one point. My hair got so long, like, just to keep it out of my eyes. So I have been there, and she clearly didn't have a lot of money. So, like, that's where she is.
That's right. Because that t-shirt she's wearing, it's got a hole in it, and her shoes are really old, and she's clearly not somebody who has a lot of resources. So we live in I don't think this universe is real, but we live in this like fantasy world where there are lesbian hookers all over New York and upper middle class business women They know them and will go up and solicit them for sex in the middle of the day. One of the craziest things about this is that these transactions are happening in broad daylight. They're like on their lunch break from whatever
Right.
high-powered business they work.
The advertising agency, because that's always what women do.
Yeah. But this first woman that solicits Margaret serves a couple of purposes. One, we learn that Margaret is very new at trying to do this kind of work, so she's terrible at it. And the woman, she's the one who has the fetish about overpaying for the service. She's like, my weakness is paying double. There's so many moments where I stop and I'm like, what is that about? What does that mean?
I got some lines
But
written down from the beginning of it when she's like, "Are you a women's studies major?" That made me like cackle out loud.
that, yeah. And that's the next scene. Like after Margaret, she's trying to negotiate this with this woman who wants to overpay her for sex, but the cops come, so she runs away. She doesn't get to close that deal. And then she heads over to a diner and she meets a woman standing outside and she's asking coded questions. She's like, have you eaten here? Is it a good place or whatever? And the woman's like, yeah. And she goes, so how long are you allowed to sit in there without ordering anything? Say 4 hours maybe? And the woman is like, are you homeless? And it turns out that's Jo, who becomes Margaret's kind of like compatriot for the rest of the film. They are very, very different.
I love how they introduced her when she comes rolling out from under the sink. That was like one of the funnier moments she had in the movie.
I laugh out loud at that.
Yeah.
But they also don't tell us how we got there. So because
Yeah.
that's fine. It's interesting that it went that way. But so they go in and sit down and Jo is kind of like, so are you new at this? Are you in the same line of work as me? And they're both talking about the fact that they're lesbian hookers. At what point did you realize that Jo was straight?
I don't think I did. That's not a note that I made here.
It doesn't come up until much later in the movie. Like her gender presentation is different. She's classically feminine, she has long hair that she styles feminine. She wears dresses, very stylish, or she's stylized. I don't know if it's stylish. That stupid hat she wears all the time. She's very feminine presenting, like classically feminine presenting.
Right.
And she decides she's gonna teach Margaret how to be a better hooker. So this is kind of how their relationship starts out. And then I'm pretty sure it's the next scene. There we cut to the bathroom. It's the Port Authority in New York, and this scene is so funny to me. This is one of the more successful scenes in the movie because it's just shot from the doorway. It's a camera. It's sitting still, and we're shooting random NPCs coming and going from the stalls, toilets flushing, the sound of hands washing. Multiple times we see this, and then it kind of clears out, and then suddenly Margaret flings a trash bag off of top of her and sits up, and she's been sleeping there. I didn't even see her there.
I know, that was the best part of it. Like, she was so camouflaged.
It made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This movie was not what I expected at all.
Yeah, well, talk about that. Like, what were you expecting, and what did it give you differently?
Well, like a name with a name like Foxy Merkins, I thought there would be more about the Foxy Merkins. It's always funny when the title gets said in the thing, when they say the name of the movie or whatever in the thing, and the guy that's like Foxy Merkins, like that was such a random interaction, I guess.
Yeah.
It's weird that they pull the whole thing together and pull that as the name. It's clearly, voyeuristic. They think people will come in for that name alone. But I think it's off-putting to some people as well because it's, kind of crude. I don't know what I expected, but it certainly wasn't what they gave me in a good way. I ended up really enjoying the film. So
I think it's hard to expect something with a name like Foxy Merkins.
yeah.
You're like, what in the hell does that even mean? And you have to know what a Merkin is. Not everybody knows what a Merkin is. It's kind of an obscure artifact. But yeah, and then after Margaret stands up in the bathroom, Jo comes rolling out from under the sinks.
Yeah.
Like she's been under this bed. Sinks. And she comes out like she's did, right? Her hair is did. She's wearing her clothes. She comes out and she sits her purse down and puts her hat on. And I was like, what are we doing? So this universe is it's not ours. It's really a not real type of place, which kind of helps me reconcile something that kind of annoyed me a little bit about it, because there's a device in the movie that is inconsistent. They bring it up and then drop it entirely and then revive it right at the end, which is this documentary that someone is shooting about the lesbian hookers, where they're in the diner and there's all these pieces where it's these women talking about what it's like being a hooker to camera. So is this a fiction piece, or are we doing a mockumentary? Because they put those two genres in the exact same package, and that doesn't work. That's some Monty Python shit.
Right.
That's what annoyed me about the ending of Holy Grail. And I think I'm sensitive to structure, to that kind of thing. Like, that's something that I think we all have the thing that allows us to suspend disbelief. And for me, maybe structure plays a big part in it. But I was really kind of caught off guard by that. But then thinking back on it, the fact that this universe, the fictional universe, it doesn't make any sense either. It's clearly not a real place. So, fuck it. But yeah, they live in the Port Authority bathroom. They have this little office of one stall. They go in together, and Margaret sits on the toilet, and Joe sits on, I think, the toilet paper dispenser, and that's like their living room. They just hang out in there and drink tequila. And they leave the tequila in there behind the toilet.
I guess you never know what you're going to find when you look under the toilet.
Which is probably why you don't.
There was a scene. Do you remember Motorboater? Motorboater.
Yeah, Motorboater. Those two women, that really cracked me up.
And then the next one I have written down, that's a very fetching t-shirt you have on.
Right. That I wrote that one down too.
That made me LOL because I have a story. I could tell I'm going to leave that off the air. But,
okay.
when it comes to like sexy time or whatever, I am not the most intuitive person. Like, it would never occur to me to like go buy lingerie and wear it. You know what I mean? So for dressing up for me or whatever is a nice t-shirt and a nice pair of pants, a nice black t-shirt. Yeah. So for them to be like, that's a fetching t-shirt you have on, that like right on the nail on the head, like
exactly. That's what I loved about it too. It was
funny.
Relatable to me and funny, and it's also kind of class based, right? Like, what is a penniless hooker going to do to put herself together for clients? Trixie Mattel has a story about a time she was in London, I think, London or France, and was invited to dinner at this extremely fancy place, like the kind you're not allowed to go into unless you're wearing a certain, like a jacket and a tie. And she didn't know it was like that because she's white trash. She is trailer trash. So she was wearing designer everything. It was all clean and pressed. She said she felt like really great and put together. She loved her outfit, and she shows up to this thing and they won't let her in, and they're like, you can wear this disgusting moth-eaten jacket that someone left here, because they have a closet full of things that they'll put on you. And she's like, how is that better than my clean and pressed clothing that I feel comfortable in? But she said she surprised herself with the reaction she had, because she started to have a panic attack and cry, and she ran away because she was so humiliated. And she was trying to describe it, and she said, there's just something about a straight man telling me that I don't make it, that I don't make the cut, that this is a place that I thought I was going to be welcome, and there's something wrong with me that I didn't even see coming. Like, I didn't have the knowledge to anticipate being humiliated in this way. And I think that's a minoritized experience of like always finding new ways to feel bad about yourself based on what majority culture gives you to work with.
It's also a case of cultural capital again, understanding the different class consciousness and the class personalities that come through, the rules that come through for the different class, the social rules. Because some people never learn anything except the class that they're in, right? And I always when I talk about my experience at Miami, I went to Miami and I was like one of 5 people who didn't have millionaires as parents, And so I had to learn how to walk a different walk just to blend in with people. And that's an education that you pay for, but you don't know that you're paying for when you go to a place like that has so many people of a higher class than you're used to. Because take me to a hog roast, I know exactly what to do. You know what I mean? I know the etiquette. I know the beer that you drink. I know all of those things. But you take me to some high-end champagne soiree, and I would have no idea what to do in a place like that.
I'm gonna sweat through my clothes and not say a word.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Margaret and Jo are from two extremely different contexts.
Yeah.
There's a couple of I read some reviews where people were like, why were the parent subplots even there? They didn't go anywhere. They didn't, develop the characters, which that part's true. It doesn't really develop the characters very much, but they're there because this movie has two strong homages in it. And I'm not super familiar with the hustler genre, but a lot of the references in this movie are to Midnight Cowboy and My Own Private Idaho. Midnight Cowboy is the Dustin Hoffman, John Voight, male hustler gigolo movie from '69. And there's like the scene everybody knows from it where they're trying to cross the road. It's what you call a stolen shot, which is that they didn't actually pay to take this shot of downtown New York, so nobody's an actor in it. They were filming this scene and a taxi cab came into the crosswalk while Voight and Hoffman were trying to cross. And so Dustin Hoffman improvises the line where he bangs on the hood and says, "I'm walking here."
Very famous.
Yeah, very famous. And they did that in this movie with the Foxy Merkins. So that was kind of an overt signal that they're doing, incorporating elements of that story. The other ones were a bit more subtle. My Own Private Idaho is a Gus Van Sant movie from like early 90s, I think. It's got River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves, and they both play male sex workers. And so like the subplot about looking for Margaret's mom comes from that. Like that's the subplot in My Own Private Idaho's. They're looking for, I think is River Phoenix's character's mom in that. And then some of the more interesting scenes in the movie are taken from that. Like the campfire scene where Margaret is like telling Jo that she has a crush on her. That's an homage to My Own Private Idaho.
I've seen that, so I didn't catch that.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't really like Gus Van Sant that much. But let's talk about some of their Janes, like some of their clients, because they really they kind of threw a lot at us.
Well, the main one is there was a doozy, right? The one with the cops being called every time. That was a twist at the end I thought was really funny. I thought her nakedness in those scenes was very brave.
Wasn't that wild?
Yeah.
And I also read, I think it was like RogerEbert.com or something, where they were like, those scenes don't go anywhere. They're not doing anything. It's not enough physical comedy. And it's like, you don't see what's incredible about this. Like this composition. So for anyone who didn't watch the movie, which is probably a lot of people listening to us right now, there's a recurring gag, I guess you could call it a gag, with one of Margaret's Janes. And she's the woman who said, "That's a very fetching t-shirt." They always meet in this hotel, and multiple times Margaret is in there with her, and the police storm the room and say, like, "We're rounding everybody up. There's sex workers all over the hotel. We're going to go get all of them." They got the first time they say something like, "We got 11 of them already today." Like they're dog catchers or something.
The fact that this happens outside of a Talbot's is the funniest thing.
The woman who picked her up, but she thought the 70% off sign was for her.
Yeah.
It wasn't for Talbot. I wonder if some of that was or how much of this was improv, because a lot of times you can just see them playing and having fun with each other with the stories that they're telling. But the second time it happens with these cops is the one you were talking about. And kind of going back to what you were saying a bit ago, like real sex is it can be self-conscious in a way where we do things like leave our socks on, or leave a baseball cap on, or forget to take our glasses off. And so Margaret is very much, she needs to be coached. The woman has to tell her, like, "Are you gonna take your clothes off at all?" And that scene where she's determined to take all of her clothes off without exposing herself, right? She takes the bra off without taking the shirt off. And that's a trick I remember. You ever do that? You like unbutton and you take...
The only way to go.
Yeah.
It's the only way to go.
Right, exactly. As soon as you walk in the door. But she continues to do that. Like she takes the shirt off under the sheet. She like wrestles her underwear down and off under the sheet. She's determined not to expose herself. And then the next second, the woman says, "Go over there and get the remote control."
Yeah.
And she stands up fully nude. And this is when these cops bust in a second time. And that scene, as an actress, and I always go here in my mind when I see things on camera. What was that like in her mind? She wrote
Right.
it, so you know. But the way that shot is framed, because we're looking through the door of this very tiny hotel room, she doesn't have anywhere to go, and she's just naked in her socks and her glasses. And she's like got her arms out like this. She's not covering up at all. And that scene went on. It was at least 30 seconds long.
Right. Right.
And these cops standing there staring at her. Those, I mean, they were looking right on either side. They had her flanked, pointing guns at her.
It's like, I can't drop it any further. It reminded me of the Super Troopers. I can't pull over any further.
Pull over. And to say, like, the reviewer said that scene wasn't funny. I'm sorry, but that was hysterical because the absurdity of it, like, it's juxtaposed, right? There's the piece of this woman with a non-sexualized, I guess, non-male gaze body standing there naked in front of police of all people, being given orders that she can't comply with because they're saying, like, drop what's in your hands, and she's like, there's nothing in my hand, I can't drop anything because I don't have anything. And it goes on and on and on. I thought it was a great bit.
Yeah, I agree.
And then they're like, take off your socks. And she's got to hike her legs up and take her socks off fully naked. I can't think of another scene like that in a movie.
Right. Like I said, very brave, very brave. I don't think I could put my body out there like that. I just, you know.
Yeah. And it happens again. And my question was, why does she keep going back to this woman? She must pay good.
Well, a dollar's a dollar.
She doesn't know that this is a scene. Like, this is part of this woman's kink. Which I kind of did. Did you pick up on that, or were you like, "What's going on? How do the cops know?"
So my notes are really funny because I write as I go, and I was like, the killing of the black maid by the cop. You didn't see it. Then it was fake? Question mark. It's her kink. LOL. LOL. She's big bad.
A similar thing happened to me. Like that was what happened to me the first time I saw this movie, and partly it's because the movie is so bonkers you can't predict. It's hard to be on top of it, right? You're not gonna be the one that guesses the ending of this movie. So yeah, I didn't either. And so on the third one, she brings her maid with her, and already because her maid is black, she's wearing a modern but classic maid outfit and a wax fabric headpiece. Did you notice that?
No.
So I was already kind of like, oh God, what's going on here? This is interesting that the servant who has been brought just to clean this motel bathroom is a black woman with a wax fabric hairpiece on, and then the cops come in and shoot her.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a what?
I legit, like, I think my jaw unhinged because I was like,
yeah,
we're doing that? Alrighty. And then the way they react too is like, you didn't see anything? You didn't see this? And they're covering her in plastic and dragging her out into the hallway.
The whole thing was wild. And then it dawns on you what's actually happening there. I thought it was brilliant. I really did.
I did too. Because we change vantage points once they're in the hallway to the other end of the hallway. And so we're looking at them. The two police are standing. She's like laying crossways on the ground after having been shot in the plastic. And the two police are kind of hunched over her. And then they stand perfectly still for like 5 seconds. And then all of a sudden she starts laughing and gets up, and they all start laughing, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And I don't think they said anything. I think they were just laughing though. But that's basically when you're like, okay, something else is going on. And that's next scene, I think, is when Margaret and Jo are talking about the event. Margaret's telling her about it and how upset she is. And Jo was like, no, it's a scene. It's her kink. And Margaret realizes that Jo was in on setting it up.
Yeah, I don't think I caught that.
Why would she do something like that?
Maybe she got a cut of the money. I mean, that's the whole point of the prostitution to begin with.
That was what Margaret said, actually. Margaret was like, did you get a cut? And Jo didn't answer. So that's probably what happened. Their friendship is based on the Midnight Cowboy friendship between Jon Voight's character and Dustin Hoffman's character.
Never seen that.
It's based on a book by a gay man who grew up in Chillicothe, which I did not know until about 20 minutes before we started recording, and I was doing a deep dive.
Wow.
But yeah, here, Leo Herlihy. I don't know which it is.
Herlihy, no. Sounded like a Pee Wee Herman skit there for a minute.
It sounds like I'm yodeling.
Do you remember the Mecca Lecca High, Mecca Heiny Ho?
Mecca Lecca High, yeah. Yeah, he was born in Detroit and raised in Chillicothe. And he wrote several other books, too. He was friends with Tennessee Williams, Tallulah Bankhead.
Wow, somebody cool came out of Chillicothe.
Yeah, and I want to read the book now because it's a lot weirder. Apparently, it's a lot queerer. But anyway, the relationship, the dynamic there is that Jo is not a good person. She has affection for Margaret. I think the affection is real, but she also sees Margaret as an object. She sees Margaret as something to experiment and play with,
Bought and sold.
and maybe even to make money off of. Hmm.
Yeah. So it's a commodifying kind of thing.
Right. And that is extra interesting given because she's gay for pay. Like she is sleeping with these women for money, which I'm not saying that's not the bad part, but it's the fact that she is straight that makes the things that she does to Margaret interesting. I'm all for anybody fucking whoever they want to for money, as long as they are consenting and sober. But this moment is where I was like, wait a minute, Joe's not very nice to Margaret here. And then the fact that she's so after that there is when they're back in their bathroom and Joe crawls up to sleep next to her to kind of apologize, and she asks her. The Merkin thing had already happened at this point. We forgot a scene. I did try to make chronological notes. We were talking about the different Johns because more than just that woman, there was also the MFA student.
She said, I'm an MFA student in drama. I have no money. And I felt that. Like, as a former MA student myself, I felt that.
And I didn't put this together the first time I watched it, but this time I wondered about this because this whole scene is basically like this woman is maybe checking her out. She's staring at her with this really unsettling face. This woman was cast just because she could make this face. Follows her into the movie theater, creeps down in between her legs on the floor and eats all her popcorn. And then goes to the bathroom and Margaret goes to confront her and she's like, I was hungry and I don't have any money. But then when she starts going like, what are you going to do to me? Did you think maybe that could be a scene also? That could have been like her kink? Like she wants to be punished for stealing popcorn in a movie theater?
I didn't think of that, but it definitely could be for sure. I guess I'm kind of white bread myself. I don't think of kink and like, ooh, that's somebody's kink. I just don't have those thoughts, I guess. I guess I should more because this is the earth and they're everywhere.
Right, yeah. And it helped. I mean, sometimes if that's a big part of a piece of media or something, or the comedy, it can be helpful to be at least versed in it because it's so closely associated with queerness, right? The kink community takes all kinds. But yeah. Whenever some institution or influential person is going to mock the queer community, it's with kink, or they're going to mock the kink community, it's with queerness. But I wasn't savvy to it the first time I watched it either. So this time, knowing that other piece was in the movie, that is what went in my brain. And then the other one was the Motorboaters, these two women that were there for a women's conference, a women's business conference, which is probably where a lot of closeted lesbians get their, loving in, is these professional conferences. I was thinking about how certain industries attract lesbians. Do you remember like in the 90s all the jokes and stereotypes about what jobs lesbians get?
Yeah, for sure.
They were firefighters,
gym teachers,
delivery drivers,
truck drivers.
I
know a lot of EMT and paramedic queers.
Something about that whole like thing, right? Like I don't know why, and who knows, it could be the work or it could be the community, and whichever, it doesn't matter. But these two women have clearly like come to this conference to be together. I don't think they intended to get the girls in there. I think they just met on the elevator, and then they were speaking in this coded talk and brought them up there. And then they started that's when the motorboater scene happened. The way they were dressed though, that one woman in particular with her bowl cut, that was the worst bowl cut I have ever seen. And she had bright red lipstick on, which apparently that was going to make her look straight, was the lipstick. And the rest of her, she's wearing like a Girl Scout den leader jorts type of thing. Like, I just couldn't stop looking at every piece of her, like everything that went into making her look. And then they asked them for some like other like over the clothes fraudage. So they wanted to watch them do that. I don't know. That's a particular kind of client too. And I think that what they were going for with these was just kind of like a non-traumatic or terribly stigmatized look at the different kinds of things people might want out of sex work that's not just P in the V, you know?
Yeah.
There's a really funny piece of either writing or improv where Joe is trying to give Margaret advice on how to signal to women that she's a sex worker, and she's like, maybe you should use bandanas. And it was, it's a reference to the real bandana code.
Right. Right.
I only know a few, probably the more salacious ones, right? Handkerchief code is what it's called, the hanky code.
I always wore a blue one, dark blue one. What does that mean?
You're not gonna like it. That means anal sex.
You're right. I don't like that.
False advertising. So there's a little codec legend here. So I knew that yellow was water sports.
Ew.
And S&M is black. And then dark blue is anal sex. Light blue is oral sex. Brown, we can guess. Green is prostitution. Gray is bondage. Purple is piercing? What is piercing?
Like as the act, or
does that mean you have them or you're going to do them?
Wouldn't you run out of places after some?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is there a limited number of times you can do this? I am not trying to kink shame. Let me put that out there. I just have logistical questions,
Exactly.
And then red is fisting. Oh, this Wikipedia page there's going to be some free fall happening later because there's all these links in here that I want to click on. We're not going to do that right now. We can do a live episode one time where we just do Wikipedia free fall. But the examples Joe gives, like she's clearly making them up. The red one was to signal that you only wanted to be with women who had experienced the change. That's what she said. Oh, I remember the one that made me laugh. She said yellow was for you have more than 3 cats.
There was a line there. She said, when 2 women get together and they start composting, they start sharing clothes.
Yeah, and that's the campfire scene that I was talking about that's based on My Own Private Idaho. And it's kind of similar. Like in that scene, I forget which, I think it's Keanu Reeves' character confesses that he's kind of falling in love with River Phoenix's character, and he's like, no, I'm only gay for pay. But he has this weird metaphorical way of describing it. And so when she said women don't love women, I think. Yeah, women don't love other women. And I wanted to talk about that because that could mean so many things. That's so broad, and it gestures to, it's about women. It's not about queer women. It's not about, like, she could be talking about having women friends or being allies to one another.
It was a very female-centric film.
Which, on the heels of that one scene where they get drunk in the stall, and she goes on this rant about how if you were a man, or if I was a man and we were both gay, or if I was gay, or if I was a man and you were a woman and we were both straight, like, have you ever been on the receiving end of that kind of straight girl treatment?
Yes.
I felt that scene so deeply. The number of straight women, either you're so pretty, why are you gay? Or you're so nice, you're so whatever. I feel so safe with you. If you were a guy, I would be all over you.
Yep.
Why do they say that?
I think they think it's a compliment. Sincerely, I think they believe they're compliment. But I don't ever want to be compared to a man, like, for any reason whatsoever.
It's weird. And what if I said that to them? Like, oh, well, if you were a pot, then I would be all over you. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And also, like, the culture of complimenting, women know better. Women know what compliments are from men. They're weaponized. They're objectifying.
Right. Well, I think that's the inflation of men thinking their opinions are worth more than they're actually worth. And I think a lot of, especially white men, have that particular affliction.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another thing that made me go, like, she's not a good person because she's doing that straight girl shit to Margaret.
Right.
The bit about her, she does eventually meet her brother, apparently. I had no idea that's who this was in that scene. They're suddenly in this guy's trailer and she's fainted. I don't know if I missed something. Did they cut a scene where she ran in there or something? But it comes out that that's her real brother. She's found him, and
I don't remember what you're talking about.
She is kind of in and out of consciousness in that guy's trailer, and Joe is like, yeah, can I use your bathroom? And then your bathroom's disgusting. That scene is doing nothing except for, he goes, I've got a picture of you and mom. And he shows her a picture of her as a baby and their mom and he calls it the institution. And I don't know if it's supposed to be real or if it's him fucking with her, but they get into a fight. So the mom subplot resurfaces.
Well, most homosexuals I know have some kind of relationship with their mother or their father, so
You mean like
that could be.
relationship drama?
Yeah, most people have with at least one
Yep.
of their parents. They've had drama before. Most of
Yeah,
us.
exactly.
Like, I think of my friend Jonas, I talk about him often. When he came out, he had to come out to his mom like 5 times because she kept, like, pretending she didn't hear him.
Yeah. And then I assume she never found her mom. They just kind of drop it. But Joe's mom, we meet her. She finds her in the bathroom, and she's like, "We're going to cut you off financially if you don't come home." So
Right?
I think that it turns out that Joe has had money this whole time and has just been hooking for the aesthetic.
Yeah, that's what I took from
That's a
it.
particular kind of identity tourism. I have known people who have, it's like LARPing as a certain identity, like rich people who do poor people shit.
I'm not going to say his name, but I know somebody who is very, very wealthy who goes to the health department and is on welfare.
Wow, that sounds like fraud.
I don't know how he does it, but he does it.
Yeah, it's like rich people who live in shacks and talk about like, oh, I only we can all of our stuff and we only eat organic and and it's like you can do that, more power to you, whatever, but then they'll start talking like, and it's healthier, it's better for you. People who live that way, they're healthier than us, they're better. It's like fetishizing poverty.
Yeah, this guy wears old clothes and has a middle of the range car and shops at
Yeah.
Aldi and does all of the signifying things. He doesn't want anybody to know he has money, and he absolutely has money.
Yeah, and lesbians are kind of have been lesbian culture anyway. That was one of my problems with like the L word. Those rich women all in LA there on that show. Like the home birth thing, giving birth at home. What's natural? People have been doing it forever. People have been dying in childbirth. Babies have been born with staph infections. Like
Well, I think that's a completely different conversation. Like being born at home, we medicalize childbirth so much that it's overdone. That I think most women, if they are normal and healthy and, they're young or whatever, they can do the birth at home. And I don't think that is such a big deal. A lot of them do water births and things like that. Like my grandparents were born at home. Lots of people were born at home. And I think it's ridiculous that we take surgeons like OBGYNs and have them doing something mundane. My argument is that we should have more
yeah.
midwives, basically. We should be doing more things in the home. We shouldn't, there's no reason for every birth to go through the hospital. Because when you go to the hospital, time is money, right? And you go in and you're in labor and your labor is going to take 25 hours, say. Well, by hour 12, they're ready to move you out of that bed. So they give you some Pitocin, which helps speed up your labor, right? But then that Pitocin raises the baby's blood pressure and then it becomes, you need another intervention and then you need another intervention and then becomes a critical thing for the baby and you got to get him out now. You probably have to have a C-section or something, all because you started with that Pitocin. And if you had done this at home, there would have been no need for escalation and there would have been no danger to the baby. And that's something that happens a lot.
It is the money aspect that creates the thing that annoys me because these are people for whom money is no object and they can afford to pay a midwife by the hour to hang
Wouldn't that
out
be
at their
nice?
house for a full weekend because they might go into labor or whatever, and also they have the option of going to the hospital in case something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And that's kind of different, and then for them to go like, well, people without means do this all the time and are fine. And it's like, that's not how it works, though. If there's a crisis for somebody that you're talking about, they don't get to just like ride down to the hospital and get whatever they need to help, right? If something goes wrong in a true home birth, a home birth that's happening because there's not a hospital, then that's just death. There's no like backup. So, I mean, your point about us needing more doulas and midwives and stuff like that is spot on because that should be the norm. It should be like, and they should be affordable. They should be accessible. They should be of every background and identity.
There's no reason that having a baby should cost tens of thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? That just makes no sense. And if we had more middlemen there, if we had more women, especially doing the jobs of midwives and doulas, as you said, then, we would have a lot less pressure on our hospitals. You'd have a lot less medical bills. And if something does go wrong, you could always, like, you can call an ambulance, usually around, around in most of the US.
Right.
Not always, like you're talking about, not always, but
Yeah, and removing like that essential medical like hospital centric thing of birth would free up a lot of space in hospitals, but we can't risk women having choices in how those things go. So
Exactly.
we
Exactly.
all know who the boogeyman is there. How the hell does this movie end?
Jo goes home and Margaret walks into the literal
Right?
sunset with her new
Jo,
girlfriend. I was mad as hell.
something we didn't mention is at one place they went looking for her mom. They went to Little Italy and they meet an Italian man, and Jo like hints that she's pregnant there. She just mentions that her boobs are growing, and it's like, okay, well, in movies that means that you're pregnant. And she was. Next time we see her, she's gone to the Port Authority bathroom looking for Margaret. She's not there, but she's wearing pearls. She's wearing this like very Republican outfit. She has her hair up in a bun, and clearly something's different about her. And I don't know if she married the Italian man or if she already had a husband. Hell, we don't know. But yeah, and she does this interview to the documentary crew about why she chose to be a lesbian hooker, and the stuff she's saying is infuriating. But it was more of that class tourism because it was like white savior a little bit, you know, like I understand these women now. Maybe I could help them. Like that, the way she was talking about her experience, there's a kind of tourism that like middle class, predominantly white people do, where they go to what we like to call third world countries in order to make themselves better, like the eat, pray, love people. This is a kind of tourism that is based in self-improvement, but it has to happen in a non-Western country or whatever. So you go over there, you get experiences, and then you come back enlightened. That's a specific kind of racism. That's kind of what Jo was reminding me of when she was talking about like what the experiences of living as a homeless lesbian hooker did for her. And then she went back to her pearls and Manhattan, probably.
Yeah, I thought it was great storytelling all the way up to the end. And I know things like sometimes there aren't good resolutions or whatever, but just being like, well, we walked into the sunset, that's like the laziest way to end something, which might have been symbolic. I don't know. Did she walk into the sunset and get her wishes? You know, did that relationship work out so she didn't have to be homeless or a prostitute or all those things? I don't know. They don't really give you any idea of what happens after she walks into that sunset, which is it really pissed me off because I felt like there should have been more of a resolution for Margaret. Like, where is she going? What's happening? And not let it all rest on having a girlfriend.
The sunset piece, like that trope, is intentionally like it's about not knowing what happens to the character. Maybe they're doomed, right? Riding off into the sunset is we never heard from them again. Their part in this story is finished for now. It's open ended. What I wish they had done was end on the scene before with Margaret where she meets the woman, because it's the same woman that had the fetish of wanting to overpay for sex. She meets her at the exact same spot, but she looks different. She's no longer a Wall Street trader or whatever it was that she did. She's not wearing her pantsuit anymore or pencil skirt suit. She's carrying a gigantic bag of like produce trimmings. And Margaret says, wow, she helps her with the gate. And she was like, wow, what'd she say? Like, that's a gigantic salad or something like that. And so the woman starts laughing and she goes, hey, do you remember me? And she's like, I look different now. I'm no longer a Wall Street person. And then she said, yeah, I just started composting in my apartment. And then so this notion of women don't love each other, all they do is compost together, comes back. But it's like Jo was wrong about that, because this is the first time in the whole movie that we see Margaret have rapport with somebody, and they go inside together carrying this gigantic bag of compost. That should have been the end of the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I hadn't put that together till you just pointed that out, though. What do you think about the title? What is it with the Merkins? Why did we do that?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a big question that I have, because it really sets the tone. Like it makes you expect something that you're not going to get, and the movie could have completely gone without that storyline. You know, there was no reason to leave the Merkin in the end or in that last scene or letting close to the end there. There was no need for him to be in the graveyard. Like that just was really kind of pointless. I think it was maybe added. I don't know. Maybe it was just to be weird. Maybe it was to be sensational.
If this is an homage to some other movie in this genre that we're not aware of, listeners, and please let us know. Like, what is the deal with the Merkins? It was funny. I really enjoyed that scene. They're relevant to sex work because of what Joe tells us about how they were invented by French sex workers to hide their syphilis sores. But that doesn't really give us much else. I don't know. Maybe we'll know by the next time we record. That's the Foxy Merkins, for whatever it's worth.
I liked it. I liked it overall. So left me with some questions, but I liked it overall.
Yeah, I had some questions as well, which I think we shared. But there was one scene where they are talking about Margaret's gender presentation, when Joe says, you look like the kind of woman that they wouldn't be caught dead with, that they would be mortified to be seen with, so they're going to pay you more for that. As a former butch lesbian, that really hit home. Like, I knew immediately what was being said there.
Yep. I know that. I knew exactly what they were saying too. As a, and people think that I'm like denigrating myself or somehow being down on myself, but I pride myself of being a woman that men would not want to be fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I've put work into this. Like, I've taken time and cultivated this. But to see her reflected in that and to still see the objectification and the sex work, I thought really kind of turned things on its head, because she's not your standard prostitute. Right. She's no Pretty Woman. You know, she's no Julia Roberts. And when we think of prostitutes, at least movie ones, they're usually beautiful or, you know, have a sexy body or something like that. And she has none of those things going for her. Like, she's naked in white socks and there's just, you know, rolls upon rolls upon rolls. And that's generally not what we see as sexy. And so I think the whole thing is turned on its head.
We forgot about the sex tape, that subplot. This movie is very bad. It's riddled with subplots that are just thrown in and then disappear. But one of them is Joe has recorded Margaret having sex with a Republican senator. She said it was an accident. I don't know if I believe her, to be honest. But they decide that they're going to blackmail this woman by selling the sex tape to CNN. They said CNN specifically. I don't know. But they meet in a car with someone. It's the Merkin salesman who was this CNN person, and they're like, wait, weren't you the Merkin salesman? And he was like, yeah, I used to do that, but I recently got into broadcasting. But he says, we can't buy this, like, about the sex tape. And they're like, what do you mean? That's newsworthy. And he starts talking around his reason for not wanting to buy the sex tape. And I realized what he was saying was that it's not sexy. Sex tapes aren't about who they're in. It's about whether the people are hot. And he said, nobody wants to see the people that are in this tape having sex. And that was like just a little slice of media commentary for me.
Reminds me of a game Shannon I used to play. The gross out game. We'd think of two people and be like, them fucking. Like, think of the two worst people you can think of, like Steve Urkel and Ronald McDonald. Them fucking.
I'm try to think up crazy things to ask you. I thought of one that I immediately made myself laugh with the answer I came up with. And then I also was like, I shouldn't say this because it's really inflammatory, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because the question is, like, what's the worst game of fuck, marry, kill? And I immediately thought, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It's like, oh, that actually is how that went.
Good answer, though. That is a good one. I think my brother-in-law would be in that mix of the kill.
Listeners, let us know what's the worst game of fuck, marry, kill. Well, we've been talking a long time, but that's fine. But maybe it's time to hear from this week's sponsor. This week's episode of QUEERNECKS is brought to you by Small Town Pride Festival. This is the one held in the gravel lot between the Tractor Supply and the Volunteer Fire Department, not the one held at the Spearmint Rhino. But whichever one you choose to attend, make sure you bring your $2 bills. No, this one is where the drag show starts 20 minutes late because somebody's uncle parked his bass boat where the stage needs to park. The one where the total attendance depends on the schedule of the regional softball tournament happening that weekend. The one with more denim than rhinestones. Small Town Pride is a place where folks who grew up hearing nobody like that lives around here get to stand right in the middle of the town, look around, and realize there actually are quite a few of us. When you walk into that asphalt, you see one folding table with free condoms, melting slightly in the afternoon sun. Somebody's lesbian aunt is selling handmade clay earrings beside a booth for the county Democrats. You got a gaggle of church moms offering free hugs from a row of lawn chairs. A bisexual man in cargo shorts telling anyone who walks by that this is his very first event. And one completely feral drag queen performing Lady Gaga on a flatbed hay wagon. Now this is community. Small town pride is about visibility in a zip code where being visible used to feel impossible. It's about a queer teenager seeing adults who chose to stick around. And it's about an old gay couple finally holding hands in front of the diner without checking the parking lot for trouble first. It is about turning a place that once felt lonely into a place that might someday feel like home. This year's festival is bigger than ever, featuring one local vape vendor, 6 area nonprofits, 2 people selling wire-wrapped crystals, and Joe Don grilling hot dogs for equality. The Small Town Pride Festival. Come out and celebrate with the fine people who aren't afraid of a little gravel in their glitter. And happy Pride Month from QUEERNECKS. Our 1-year anniversary. Against all odds and a few petitions, we were somehow still recording.
I do love a small town pride. Yeah.
Know what you're going to see.
I remember one
And
year
the
we went
food
to
is always
Charleston,
lit.
West Virginia. That was back, oh God, that had to be like 2002, 2003, like a long time ago. And there were like 200 people there total. And there was a drag queen wearing her full midnight drag queen face at high noon.
That's the thing about the Small Town Pride Festival is it is in the daytime.
Yeah. There was someplace I remember they had a softball game that went with it, which what is more pride than letting lesbians play softball?
Well, here's a shout out for you. If you are in the Lexington area of Kentucky, there's a sports league called Hot Mess Sports. It's a queer sports club. They, play kickball. They have kickball days or volleyball or pool parties and stuff. And I don't know how you join. I always wanted to, but I always had to work on weekends. So I would definitely hit that up if I was still living there. Because there is just something to like, a big city pride, they don't do things like that because it's all together. It's one huge thing. It doesn't have to be piecemeal and spread out. When we did the Southern Illinois Pride Festival, it was like we had to do it in shifts. There was some morning programming and then nothing for a while, and some afternoon programming, and then we went home and slept for a while, and then we had the evening programming at a bar somewhere so that we didn't have to actually do the facilitation of it. Like, it's that kind of stuff. It's really enmeshed. Any final thoughts about Foxy Merkins?
None that I can think of. I thought it was an interesting film. I think the title is misleading and kind of superfluous, like, to the whole story. But I think it's interesting, and, I thought it was really interesting to see myself reflected in such a way in a character that you've never seen before. So I thought that was really creative and original. I don't know, I liked it. It was weird,
Yeah.
but I liked it.
Very weird, but quite a few things in it that I can't remember seeing anywhere else, before or since. Definitely recommend, but it is out there, which makes it on brand for us. QUEERNECKS approved. Did you bring a noun of Appalachian interest today?
I did. I actually wrote this one a while ago and decided to finally pull it out today. This week's noun of Appalachian interest is leather britches. Now, let's get one thing settled right away. Leather britches are beans, y'all, not pants. Not something that you wear to a line dancing night at the Eagle Club. They are not chaps, they're not fringe, they're beans. Leather britches are green beans that have been strung up with a needle and thread and left to dry until they look like they have both been through it. Folks would hang them on their porches in long strands, almost like Appalachian tinsel. Forget fancy decorations. Around here, sometimes your porch was also like a winter food supply. Back before everybody had freezers and grocery stores close by, drying beans was one way to make sure supper lasted past harvest season. You picked the beans in summer, strung them up, and let the air do its work, and then saved them for the cold months when the garden was done and everybody was tired of pretending canned peaches counted as a side dish. Then when winter rolled in and the house needed something warm on the stove, those dried beans went into the pot with a hunk of pork and a potato if you felt froggy. After a while, they've softened back into something smoky, chewy, and rich enough to make you understand why people keep doing it. And that's the beauty of leather britches. They are practical, but they are also a little bit magical. All summer long, they hang there looking like they gave up. Then winter comes, and suddenly they are the star of dinner. That's not just food preservation, that's a comeback story. So leather breeches are proof that Appalachians were doing sustainability long before anybody started charging money to explain it in a conference room. Nothing got wasted if it could be dried for later and turned into a meal with enough pork grease and patience. So if you ever hear somebody talking about leather breeches, do not picture a cowboy in a dance hall. Picture those wrinkled beans turning into the kind of meal that helped families get through winter. Appalachian food has always known how to take what was already there and to turn it into something that feels like home. So leather breeches, they might not make your ass look good, but they sure will make you feel fed.
That's a good one. Very educational.
Thank you.
I'd never heard them called that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've ever heard them called.
Interesting.
Do you know what Chow Chow is?
Yes.
I didn't know what that was, and it turned up on Top Chef this week. Top Chef is in North Carolina this season, or the Carolinas, basically. And so
Oh, yeah.
one of the last challenges, they had to incorporate Appalachian ingredients, and one girl picked Chow Chow. I have the worst song stuck in my head, per usual.
What is it?
This week's edition of What's Stuck in Becky's Brain Jukebox is The Magic Stick by 50 Cent.
Oh, that's so specific.
Yes.
But yesterday, I got a wild hair and watched the Diddy documentary that 50 Cent produced.
How was that?
Surprising, I mean, I was aware of the charge, like the sexual assault charges and things like that, but I did not know that Diddy killed Tupac and Biggie. He's been a shitbag for a long time. So I was like, well, damn, I wasn't expecting to learn this today.
I mean, anybody that owns 1,000 bottles of baby oil that isn't, Johnson & Johnson himself, like, that's an issue.
Well, and according to the documentary, there was GHB in it.
Yeah.
Which that is absolutely fucking bonkers. Well, I guess that's it for Foxy Merkins. Maybe that's it for our first episode of Pride Month.
Are we in season 2?
Season 2 of QUEERNECKS. Maybe it's time for us to swap out that show art for that crazy Mothman I made. Did you see that picture I posted of the Mothman I made?
Yeah.
Welcome to season 2 of QUEERNECKS.
Queer nuts.
Queer nuts. The Foxy Queer Nuts. Well, happy for the opportunity to keep doing these. Happy that y'all keep listening. Let's do another year.
Sounds good to me.
See you next week. Be good. Happy Pride Month. Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.